All right, guys, back with another one, man. This is George with Ryan Rate. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for tuning in. We're going to do Drake Make Them Know today, but before we get into that, man, thank you so much. Shout out to everybody that's been subbing to the channel. We're at 30,000 now, man. Can't thank you guys enough for the support and the love that I've been getting. I know I haven't been as, as consistent, especially this past week, but life happens sometimes, man. So again, I'm gonna keep fighting and working and tweaking my schedule between this channel and my other channel, Lost in Vegas. Make sure you check that channel out as well, and other things I have going on in life to try to get some. So I got to get like a schedule together that I can stick to. But that's why it's just been a little delayed as far as getting getting something out there. So yeah, man, I want to Make Them Know done because on my Lost in Vegas channel we covered pretty much all of the Make Them Know make thems, I guess you could say. This is the only one we didn't cover, and we're still getting a lot of requests to get this done, even though this song has been picked apart. It's like a dead carcass at this point. All of Drake's fans have been the investigators, and all the theories and all that have already picked this song apart, broken it down. I'm still going to give you my thoughts regardless, but clearly, some of you guys still want to see what we have to say or what I have to say. So let's get into it, man. You know what I mean? Once again, salute again for you guys. Get me to 30K, man. There's another video that I'm going to drop where I kind of like thanked you guys for getting me to 30K. I made it before this video, or I made it yesterday rather. And there's different reasons why. I'm still going to drop it, but I'm going to wait a little while before I drop that one. There's a reason for that. But in that video, you will see me thanking you for getting me to 30K. And, I went into detail about that. So be on the lookout for that video. But let's get into it. Drake, Make Them Know.
Hey. I tried and tried and tried till the R switch place with the I. I never forget that July, the worst that I felt in a while.
I gotta start this beat back up, man. This beat is fucking hard. The thing I love about Drake is that even in his sort of reflective type of songs, right, where you could tell the beat is more sort of minimalistic, there is still a catchy nature in how. There's always some sort of catchy, sort of emotional nature in the beat that kind of makes it hot. I think a lot of times, I guess casual hip hop fans, when you don't have a song that's not the banger, you typically lose a lot of casual fans. I should say this, it's easier to lose a lot of casual hip hop fans when you are making songs that don't have that sort of commercial push, right? That bang, right? That are more up tempo, that are more dynamic in terms of sound, right? This beat, but I feel like Drake does a good job in maintaining or at least keeping a lot of those people's attention, even with the laid back sort of minimalistic, reflective type beats, right? Because he just has such an amazing ear. And shout out to the entire collective, man. Speaking of collective, it looks like LAF Collective is part of the crew that made the beat. Oz, Lil Angel, everybody that's responsible for this beat. But Drake has to pick it. Drake has to, he is the ultimate sign off before it makes the album. And he just gets it. He knows what is like an earworm quality, even in a song that's not meant to be a commercially viable song, right? That sample that they're using, it seems like they sort of tuned down the vocals or whatever and made them deep. That do, 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 ooh, that shit sort of constantly repeating in the background with the bass. Even how it started, I don't know if it was some keyboard action going on at the beginning of this. How it dropped, the bass note that comes in is just nasty. Very well crafted beat. Let me start that back up. Like a keyboard or something used there. All this leading up to the drop.
Hey. I tried and tried and tried till the R switch place with the I never forget that July, the worst that I felt in a while. I'm glad that you think that I'm soft. I'm glad that you think that I'm shy. I need you to think all these things. I got bigger than what's in my mind.
Okay, so y'all know at this point what Drake is talking about here, right? I tried and tried and tried till the R switch place with the I. So tried, if you switch the R and the I, tried turns to tired. So he tried and tried and tried, to deal with and he's talking about obviously what happened, and he said, I'll never forget that July, the worst I felt in a while. He's talking about the beef, what happened during July of 2024, right? Think Not Like Us came out, if I'm not mistaken, around that time, right? So he's referencing just the backlash and the sort of the tsunami of hate that he had to deal with. You know what I'm saying? So he said that was the worst he's felt in a while. And then he said, I'm glad you think that I'm soft. I'm glad that you think that I'm shy. And I think he also said, I need you to think all these things. I got bigger than what's in my mind. I love that line. I'm glad that you think that I'm soft, right? Because Drake has had the people look at Drake as the corny soft guy, right? That's not a threat to anyone, right? And that was reinforced in the beef. You know what I'm saying? Everyone was looking for any reason to try to, to pile on what Drake was doing. And he said, I got bigger than what's in my mind. So all of this, the tsunami of hate, what do they say? When it comes to sort of the human spirit, like sometimes our most creative, the greatness of us, right? You don't get there unless you're pushed unless your back is against the wall, unless you're pushed to the brink of death, right? Like if our species was pushed to the brink of extinction, if aliens invaded this planet, we were pushed to the brink of extinction, we probably see the best that humanity could ever offer, right? Because we have no choice. We have to succeed, right? We have to, if we want to live, right? And I think that's what Drake is saying. Like I got bigger than what's in my mind. I got bigger than what I thought I could be. It's actually a blessing in disguise that he went through what he went through, right? I got bigger than what's in my mind. Shit, I had a ceiling for myself, and that ceiling was probably high, but I've exceeded that due to having to sort of combat the hate, due to having to deal with overcoming the backlash that he received, right? Dope.
To the R, switch place with the I never forget that July, the worst that I felt in a while. I'm glad that you think that I'm soft. I'm glad that you think that I'm shy. I need you to think all these things. I got bigger than what's in my mind. I'll take it an eye for an eye. I sent a boy up to the sky. I still haven't lost any sleep, and I definitely didn't cry. Hey, yo, Gucci, get back.
It's funny that it's interesting that he said that, right? Because, I've heard this song, and it's more of a vibe song, and I've listened to it, of course, as well. But, like, again, when I'm listening to music in this context, doing my YouTube channel, it's usually different than when I'm doing it in my casual time. But when I'm listening to this now, listening to it and honing in on it, when he says, I got bigger than what's in my mind, I have revenge on my mind. An eye for an eye means revenge. You take my eye, I'll take your eye, right? An eye for an eye. That's the type of mode he's in, considering what he's been dealing with the last few years, right? With the beef and the backlash. Then he said, I still haven't lost any sleep, and I definitely didn't cry. But before that, he said it was the worst that he felt in a while. But then he said, I hadn't lost any sleep, so it seems to be contradictory. You know what I'm saying? But I think he wants you to know, I think there's a sort of a veil of vulnerability that he's showing, but he also wants you to know that it didn't stop anything. It was a difficult situation, but it definitely didn't deter me, right? It motivated me. I got bigger. He's like, I needed it, right? What did he say? I'm glad that you're thinking that I'm shy. I need you to think all these things. I got bigger than what's on my mind. Like Drake had, what was that song where Drake said, people saying that I fell off. Ooh, I needed that, right? He's kind of had this in his career where he said things like that. They said that I fell off. Ooh, I needed that. Thank you, right? I needed that extra motivation to continue to reach new heights, to push myself to different heights, man. So, yeah, it was tough, but it's not small thing to a giant, baby. Small thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to keep it real, though. You know what I'm saying? It hurt. A lot of people I was close to, a lot of people that I loved, you know what I'm saying, started acting funny during that time. But come on, man. You know what I'm saying? It allowed me to understand who's who, and I got bigger than what was in my mind, man. I became bigger and better. You know what I'm saying? Pause, but let me pull that back.
What's in my mind? I'll take it an eye for an eye. I sent a boy up to the sky. I still haven't lost any sleep, and I definitely didn't cry. Hey, yo, Gucci, get back in the ride, cause that's definitely not the guy. Mistaken identity mixed with adrenaline, almost just kiss you goodbye. It's rap, so it sound like a lie when I talk to you and I confide. I'm going back to Cali. I got hearts in both of my eyes. I'm sleeping with death on my mind, cause of shots that I called in my time. And karma has been on my side, but I also just heard that she's blind. That bitch might just switch on a dime, cause she can't even see I'm a guy. Pressure been getting applied, and I know I've been bad with replies. The lawsuit I got is fried, to the R, switch place with the I.
Yeah, he's rapping, though. This is one of those songs, man, that can go under the radar. And actually, I feel like I've witnessed this, and when I've seen people's commentary on this song. I feel like it's going under the radar that he's rapping very well on this album. And again, I can't stress this enough. This is going to be a common theme on this channel when it comes to figurative language in hip hop, figurative writing, rhetorical sort of commentary, like things that aren't as literal in your face. There's a reason why multi-syllables, at least in 2026, there's a reason why a lot of the younger generation love rappers and think that they're the end-all be-all to lyricism that tend to rely on technical rap versus layered nuance in rap. It's because it's easy for them to get. It's easy for you to get when someone's rapping fast when it's surface level and you can see that they're doing something impressive, right? It's impressive to be able to do multi-syllabic rhyming in a complex fashion and match syllables, but that means you're technical oftentimes. It doesn't mean that you're saying anything. It just means that you're using this tool. Rhyme schemes are a vehicle to get off lyricism. They're not necessarily always lyrically sort of infused, but they're a nice vehicle for you to get to eventually hopefully say something. And even if you don't, it's not mandatory that you're always saying something profound, but it's a nice vehicle, right? It's the shiny sort of pattern that you can recognize and say, wow, he or she, is doing something cool. But songs like this, I've seen some commentary on it. Drake's rapping very well, but because it's not complex in nature when it comes to his scheming in this, I think they're overlooking what he's doing because there's a lot of figurative language used to kind of describe his situation, right? When he says, I'm going back to Cali with hearts in both of my eyes, he said, I'm going back to Cali. That's B.I.G. on the album Life After Death. That's a reference to Biggie's song, I'm going back to Cali, right? Which I think he's using for a reason, right? Biggie, there was a whole thing about Biggie going back to Cali because people were scared for Biggie because him and Tupac were beefing. There was a whole East Coast, West Coast thing going on, and people didn't want him to go back to Cali because they thought it was dangerous. You know what I mean? It was in the middle of a feud with him and Tupac. He ended up dying, unfortunately, when he went back to Cali. But Drake is saying, you know, in a sort of rebellious way, like, yeah, I'm going back to Cali, you know, with hearts in both of my eyes. It's saying a lot without spelling it out for you, right? I'm going back to Cali with hearts in both of my eyes. Why did he say that? He said that because, you know, Kendrick Lamar obviously is from Cali. That's more directed towards the beef in the situation with Kendrick. Kendrick resides in California. A lot of people said that Drake would never be able to come back to Cali. You know what I'm saying? I think in the battle, Drake was just like, you know, I'll be in Cali rocking every chain, you know what I mean, in the book, right, on push-ups if I'm not mistaken, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not scared. You're not stopping me from coming back to Cali. In fact, I have hearts in both of my eyes. Oh, I'm going to love this shit, right? I'm going to love the triumphant return to Cali. And I'm going to show you that there's nothing you can do to stop me. I eat everywhere. There's nothing that you can do to stop my motion. You know what I mean? I'm bigger in Cali than you are. So he's like, I got hearts in both of my eyes. I can't wait to go back to Cali is Drake's way of saying that, right? But he's saying so much. There's a lot of subtext in Drake's writing that I think gets overlooked because people are going to, you know, they're going to focus on, I tried it. What did he say? I still haven't left any sleep. And I definitely didn't cry, right? They're going to listen to the lack of complex syllabic rhyming, and they're going to be like, oh, that's so simple. Drake doesn't have bars. He's not saying anything. But then he'll come back. And sometimes Drake says, there's some lines in here, man, we'll talk about. Sometimes he has some bullshit, too. They're just terrible lines. And I think people get so fixated on the lines that don't hit, and they're missing all of the lines that do hit. They're missing all of the layered, nuanced lines that are excellent writing, because they're fixated on the bad writing, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's frustrating as someone who really, I pride myself in really seeing the scope of what an artist is trying to do oftentimes, man. It really frustrates me when I feel like people aren't doing their due diligence to try to understand the scope of what he's saying and really dig into the lyricism. But anyways, man, I'm talking too much. But let me pull it back. Yeah, that TV Gucci getting a ride line, we're going to get back to that. Let me pull it back.
That bitch might just switch on a dime, cause she can't even see I'm a guy. Pressure been getting applied, and I know I've been bad with replies. The lawsuit I got is fried, to the R switch place with the I. They'll frame it as people retired, but we know it's the truth and a lie. And both of my I'm going back to Cali, I got hearts in both of my eyes. I'm sleeping with death on my mind, cause the shots that I called in my time. And karma has been on my side, but I also just heard that she's blind. That bitch might just switch on a dime, cause she can't even see I'm a guy. Pressure been getting applied, and I know I've been bad with replies. The lawsuit I got is fried, to the R switch.
Yeah, it's just a lot of slick shit that Drake is saying, man. But I want to go back up to that TV Gucci line, right? Right, because that's Drake's, man. What did he say? Ayo, Gucci, get back in the ride. Because that's definitely not the guy, right? TV Gucci is someone that's in in Drake's entourage, right? And I think that by him saying Gucci get back in the ride, because that's definitely not the guy, mistaken identity mixed with adrenaline almost kissed you goodbye, right? So you got to think what Drake's mindset is during this time. You know, he's on edge. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of people taking shots. I got death on my mind from the shots that I took in my time. Like, it's put me in the mode where I want to murder somebody. These dudes are trying to pin pedophilic claims on me. I got friends that I thought were that like people who I thought were really my friends, who I love dearly, act funny, right? People are dissing me every other day. You know, the world is playing with my name. You got motherfuckers performing pedal rhymes at Super Bowls. He's on the edge, right? I got death on my mind from shots that I took in my time. So knowing that he's on edge during this time, I love how he said Gucci get back in the ride, because that's definitely not the guy. And I think that that's his way of saying, like, I don't know what this could be. I don't know who he could be talking about or who he could be referencing here. But that's his way of saying that anybody who even looks like an op, you know what I'm saying, we on go mode. You know what I mean? I got my shooters and my wolves ready to do anything. And we're so on go that we're mistaking people who are innocent civilians, potentially, right, that may fit the description, you know what I'm saying, for enemies, because I'm ready to, I'm on revenge mode. It's like I can picture them riding around like looking, you know what I'm saying, looking like, is that ASAP? Is that Rick Ross? Is that, if it even looks like this person, you know what I'm saying, if they even look like an op, you know, I got my guys on go, because somebody got to pay for this, right? Somebody. So it just speaks to just how thirsty he is for revenge by saying that. You know what I'm saying? Get back in the ride. No, that's not the guy. You know what I mean? Mistaken identity almost kissed your ass goodbye. Boy, you know, you was lucky, you know, because you look like, you know what I'm saying? You know, you look like the op for a second. So, you know, I like just the figurative way that Drake says things.
I'm sleeping with death on my mind, cause of shots that I called in my time. And karma has been on my side, but I also just heard that she's blind. That bitch might just switch on a dime, cause she can't even see I'm a guy. Pressure been getting applied, and I know I've been bad with replies.
So karma's always been on my side, right? But I also heard that she's blind. You know what I mean? She can't even see that I'm her guy. She's blind. She can't see it. So I love the idea of karma, right? You know, what you do comes back to you, right? Karma's always been on his side. I think good karma. You know what I'm saying? You know, or karma as it relates to people who have done him wrong, you know, it coming back to bite them. But also good karma exists, right? Some of the, you know, him doing good by people and being the type of guy that looks out, it comes back to him tenfold in his success. But I feel like within the last few years, he's felt like, and again, I think that's just his way of saying, like, I think karma hasn't been on my side lately, right? She can't even see I'm her guy. Like, what's going on, karma? Hold on. Normally, me and you are on the same page, but over the last 2 years, you know, I feel like I'm getting the smoke. I think you need to go over there, right? You know, you're blind. You can't see that I'm your guy. Me and you are a team. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I love the figurative nature of what he's saying, man. I think Drake is really, really good at sort of these metaphorical, non-literal, you know, tools, man. I think that, again, and I think a lot of the greatest rappers of all time aren't looked at as the greatest lyricists of all time, aren't looked at like the greatest lyricists of all time, because I feel like, at least in 2026, because I feel like a lot of rap fans aren't able to comprehend what that style of rap is doing oftentimes. They're just only, again, looking for schemes. But stuff like that, you know, karma, man, you know, she switched up on a guy, man, you know, so like, she don't even know that I'm a guy. I think that's just very good lyricism. He did say something else too. He said, it's rap, so it sounds like a lie when I talk to you and I confide. I think that he's talking to the audience. I think that's his way of talking to the audience. It sounds like it's a lie, because this is coming off of him saying, you know, mistaken identity almost kissed you goodbye. You think I'm lying, because I'm Drake and I'm the soft guy, and we ain't out here moving militant, right? So it's rap. You hear it in a rap, so you're just assuming that it's just for entertainment purposes. No, this is real shit. You know what I mean? We are really outside looking for people. You know what I'm saying? Or on go mode. And you think that I'm Mr. Degrassi? Yeah, that guy died a long time ago, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, so yeah, let's keep it going.
And karma has been on my side, but I also just heard that she's blind. That bitch might just switch on a dime, cause she can't even see I'm a guy. Pressure been getting applied, and I know I've been bad with replies. The lawsuit I got is fried, to the R switch place with the I. They'll frame it as people retired, but we know it's a truth and a lie. And they'll act like we signing a deal when they pay me for wasting my time. And they'll act like I lost my appeal, but they'll pay me for changing their mind. They got wind of the fact I was hit, and the whole world started to chime. Not scared of no suit or no tie, cause shit, victory always been mine. If I free up my bro, gotta live with it.
I love when they let that sample breathe. They let the beat breathe for a little bit, and then they bring the sample back in. Because victory always been mine. Then the bass comes in, and it's that comes back in. That is just I love the way that sample sounds of the sort of, again, that watery, like deep voice or whatever they did with that is just nasty. I love this part right here, man. Drake was talking, man, when he said the lawsuit I got was fried to the R switches places with the I. So the lawsuit, he's talking about the appeal against UMG, the defamation lawsuit, which got dismissed. Dismissed equals fried. It's over, done. Drake didn't win the lawsuit, right? Or so it appears that he didn't win the lawsuit, right? Or maybe he lost the lawsuit, but there was some sort of inner workings of things behind the scenes that were being worked out. You know what I mean? That, which would allow him to win in the end, right? And I think that's what he's insinuating here. The lawsuit got fried to the R switches places with the I. If you look at the word fried and you switch the R and the I, it spells fired. So he's insinuating, is what it seems like, is that someone eventually at some point is going to get fired for what transpired between him and UMG. I think people just look at Drake as like, that was a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resources that were put towards fighting that case with Drake, and an artist on their label that's made them so much money is all of a sudden so, sort of, distraught and unhappy with his dealings with the label. At some point, someone's gonna pay for that, right? And I think that's what Drake is saying. He's like, they'll frame it as people retired, so that means, like, I don't know if he's talking about Lucian, or some sort of big wig right there up at UMG. They'll frame it as this person retired. When in corporate America, man, when someone resigns, oftentimes or sometimes that means that no, they're giving them the option to resign. If they don't resign, then they'll fire them. So it's a way for the person to save face. Right? So I think that's what Drake's insinuating, that, they're going to frame it like Lucian or whoever is retiring, but really he got fired. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm the dude that's keeping the lights on or whatever he says, right? I'm the dude that's making the money for this corporation. I'm the main, my catalog is worth everybody else is on the roster combined. And I'm unhappy and I'm looking to get out of this deal. Oh, somebody's going to pay for that. So that's what he's insinuating, right? That's why he said, but we know what the truth is and what the lie is. You know what I'm saying? They're going for the purposes of optics to the public, and looking strong or whatever, and what have you in the public. Yeah, they're going to frame it a certain way, but we know the truth. So he said, and then they'll act like we signing a deal when they pay me for wasting my time. And then they'll act like I lost my appeal, but then they'll pay me for changing their mind, right? So it's like, we're going to give you the money that you would have made off of that lawsuit. You know what I mean? We're going to pay you that and tenfold, right? But we just need to, put it in a nice little public image bow, right? To make us look good, to make it seem like we didn't get, that you're not running anything. But ultimately, we're paying you, right? For wasting your time, right? For us, maybe legally there wasn't anything wrong with them promoting Not Like Us, right? And boosting that song to essentially being a cultural phenomenon. But maybe ethically, maybe morally, maybe we didn't have your best interest at hand. You know what I'm saying? And we don't want you to leave, so we'll pay you to change your mind. Like, almost like they're begging him behind the scenes, and they're willing to pay whatever he would have won in a lawsuit in order to get back in his good graces, so that way they can extend him, another deal. You know what I mean? Sign him. What did Drake say? B's on the table. Sign him to $2 billion or whatever that may be, right? The biggest recording contract of all time, right? So it's like what you would have gained in that lawsuit, we'll pay you that and some for the inconvenience, for wasting your time, or for whatever, behaving unethically. We'll fire this guy, get him out of there, right? You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's Lucian or whoever was responsible for that happening, and we'll pay you tenfold for what transpired. So Drake's way of saying, man, they doing all that bullshit for optics, man, but we know the truth. It's interesting, though, that Drake would say this in a rap. And I'm wondering from a legality standpoint, because, I'm sure there's NDAs with all these major contract signings, right? I wonder if this is like a loophole for Drake to put this in a song, and this is something that he wouldn't be able to otherwise say publicly. You know what I mean? Just like it was a loophole for, Kendrick to say what he said, in terms of defamation, right? Judges are like, hey, freedom of speech or whatever, freedom of musical expression, right? There was a loophole to be defamatory towards someone, but it's within a song. And I wonder if Drake is playing that same card with this. But anyways, I love the way he wrote that. They got wind of the fact that I was hit and the whole world started to chime. Little wordplay there, right? Wind chimes, wind, when wind goes through chimes that you hang outside on a porch or what have you, it makes a sound, right? Wind chimes, right? But they got wind of something, The world caught on to him being dissed and they started to chime in.
And the whole world started to chime. Not scared of no suit or no tie, cause shit, victory always been mine. If I free up my bro,
Yeah, that was hard. Ain't scared of no suit, no tie, because victory's always been mine. I think I saw something online. Some people were floating that line around saying that was towards Jay-Z. Maybe suit and tie. Jay-Z made the song Suit and Tie with Justin Timberlake. Maybe. When I heard that line initially, when I first heard the song, I just thought it was towards the suits at UMG. You know what I mean? The suits, or maybe the lawyers involved with the case, but also the corporate suits in the office. I'm not scared of you. You know what I mean? Victory's always been mine. I've always found a way to win. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of that line. But I like that, though.
Me for changing their mind. They got wind of the fact I was hit, and the whole world started to chime. Not scared of no suit or no tie, cause shit, victory always been mine. If I free up my bro, gotta live with it, cause we know that man is an innocent. If they saying he did it, he did the shit, but he still might come home in a little bit. 400 racks on the head, how am I spending so frivolous? I act like the money's unlimited. If a Rolex I want about to drop, I reserve the shit like I'm indigenous. Bobby from 6'1", bro, and he under my arm like I'm ticklish.
See, it's lines like that. He under my arm like he ticklish. See, that's just what he's saying is his bro, Bobby from 6, Bobby from the 6, his bro, somebody in his entourage, that's his bro. He's under his arm. He got him under the wing. You know what I mean? He's got him close to him. That's what he means by under the arm. But he's under the arm like I'm ticklish. I think Drake using similes in general. I think some people hate similes. I remember my English teacher back at school hated similes. She was just like, no, it's just a very lower form of writing. Find a different way to make the analogy or what have you. Like, she hated it. And I think that that's pretty standard in writing in general. A lot of people hate similes. But similes in hip-hop could be hard. But also similes sometimes lead the way that they're said to me can kind of, it can be very obvious that you're saying some whack shit if you use a simile. And sometimes the basic nature of how similes are set up, it just makes it very clear that this something isn't good. You know what I mean? So sometimes Drake, he gets too simile happy and it just, it could come off like whack writing, right? And that was whack writing. He under my arm like he ticklish, right? But earlier he said the karma might switch on a dime. She forgot that I'm her guy, right? But I also heard that she's blind, right? There's a lot of nuance and layers in that. There's a metaphor of that is very well written and thought out, right? Very clever. But then he'll follow it up with, she under my arm like you ticklish. I reserve the shit like I'm indigenous or some shit he said. Like, these are lines like that I think especially young people, but people in general, they hear that shit and they like, oh, he is trash. That line is trash. You know what I'm saying? But he does a lot of really, really dope shit in his writing, man, that doesn't get appreciated. It doesn't get it doesn't get the respect that it deserves because lines like that just stick in people's brain. But I wanted to give you because I talked about that earlier. I wanted to give you an example of what I was talking about.
Not scared of no suit or no tie, cause shit, victory always been mine. If I free up my bro, gotta live with it, cause we know that man is an innocent. If they saying he did it, he did the shit, but he still might come home in a little bit. 400 racks on the head, how am I spending so frivolous?
I wanted to touch this line as well again because, after the no suit, no tie, victory's always been mine. He said, if I free up my bro, gotta live with it. You know what I mean? Because we know that the man isn't innocent. You know what I'm saying? If they saying he did it, he did the shit, but he still might come home in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? 400 racks on the head. How am I spending so frivolous? So I don't know if Drake. First of all, I don't know who Drake is talking about. Somebody in his crew. If I free up, my bro gotta live with it, right? So if I free up, my bro gotta live with it. Because we know that man isn't innocent. So he's got to live with whatever he did, whatever crime. And we know he isn't innocent because we know that he's an animal. You know what I'm saying? This is one of his wolves. If they say he did it, then he damn sure did the shit because that's just what he does. He puts work in. You know what I'm saying? But he still might come home in a little bit. We may still work out something, you know what I mean, to get his sentence reduced, right? I got the money to figure out, to get the right lawyers and all that to get his sentence reduced. I just don't know who he's talking about. But I'm also thinking that when he says 400 racks on a head, you know, it just comes off like some street shit there too a little bit, right? When you put bread on someone's head, you put money, a contract on someone's head, then he says, how am I spending so frivolous? So again, this whole song is about revenge, or, you know, essentially his thoughts, you know, post beef, right? And thinking about, I got hearts in both of my eyes, and going back to Cali, I'm looking for dudes, right? Mistaken identity almost got you out of here, almost kissed you goodbye, right? There's a lot of revenge, you know, related sort of, you know, elements of this song. So when he says 400 racks on the head, I don't know if he's talking about his man that got jammed up, you know what I mean? May have paid him to kind of put some work in for him or do something to somebody or something. I don't know, you know. And also I think Drake is saying, I'm just giving out money. Money's unlimited. So even though, you know, I've been dealing with a lot these last few years, it hasn't stopped the money. So I'm giving $400,000 for everybody around me. $400,000 for you ahead. But also it could be $400,000 as a contract on someone's head. You know what I mean? I'm just throwing that out there. I think it's probably just spending money frivolous because he said you know, I act like the money's unlimited. But I'm just saying, just to point that out. But I just want to know a little bit more detail about what he's talking about with my man who's in jail. You know what I'm saying?
Man is an innocent. If they saying he did the shit, but he still might come home in a little bit. 400 racks on the head. How am I spending so frivolous? I act like the money's unlimited. If a Rolex I want about to drop, I reserve the shit like I'm indigenous. Bobby from 6'1", bro, and he under my arm like I'm ticklish. How do they say they got classics if it's shit that you never revisited? And if that's shit you revisited, then why am I boss of the business? Niggas been talking on digital, knowing how shit can get physical. Niggas gon' see me at birds and act like they fucking invisible. If a Rolex I want about to drop, I reserve it like I'm aboriginal. 50mm president, for all the time shit got political. This album I'm never submitting it, cause I know that I'll never consider it. This might be the one year I won, cause I know how they like to position it. My bros wanna mob on the stage, but I tell them boys now have some discipline. We don't even want what they giving us. Them shits don't even have no significance. They just wanna turn up with gang. They wanna turn up with the syndicate. Bro just touched down in the States. Took a jet ski from Windsor to Michigan. These niggas recouping on 2012. They gotta do it in increments. What happened to Drake from 2009 when all of the moments was intimate? What happened to Drake with their innocence? I don't think we'll be seeing him again.
I like when he ended it with the Iceman, baby. That whole outro, I guess. I thought that was gonna be the intro to the album, because that was fire. I remember hearing that when he did the little rollout or pre-rollout. What was it, last year, man? But look, a lot in there that we could touch, man. I know what he said, they gotta recoup in increments. What did he say? You know, these dudes recouping on 2012, they gotta do it in increments. You know what I'm saying? So that was a real slick jab towards Kendrick, right? 2012, what came out in 2012? Good Kid, Mad City, right? You know what I mean? That's basically Kendrick's debut album. So he's still recouping. You know what I mean? He still hasn't been able to pay his label back from 2012. You know what I'm saying? The budget that his label gave him for Good Kid, Mad City in his music, essentially, right? So he's saying that, you know, if we talking about me, Drake is known, at least rumor has it, Drake is known for being able to recoup all of his entire budget relatively quickly. You know, they say, like, you know, within, you know, one album can recoup his entire budget or what have you, right? It's just boom, and then he's ready for the next deal. So they got to do it in increments. Like his competition, you know what I mean? You know, they still recouping from 10 years ago, and since the 2010s. So that was a slick little shot at Kendrick. But what else did he say? I love when he said, how do they say they got classics if it's shit that you never revisited? You know what I'm saying? And if that's the shit you revisited, then why am I boss of the business, right? That's Drake's way of saying. I mean, they're saying that these guys have classics. I think that's another Kendrick shot. Not just Kendrick, though. You know what I mean? But that's mainly a Kendrick shot, right? Like, you know, you're saying you got classics, but I'm not seeing it's not active out here. You know what I mean? I'm not seeing these albums get a lot of plays. I'm not seeing the streams. I'm not seeing whatever that is, right? The streams, the plays, you know what I mean? The cultural sort of penetration of these records. Like, we're not, you know, it's just a whole bunch of critics saying that this is great, but where's the actual where's the actual penetration of the music, man? People aren't playing it. And then why am I boss of the business? Why am I running shit? Why do all roads lead back to Drake? If I'm this dude that's just not putting out, if I'm just this anti-hip hop fraudulent dude and no one cares about my music, then why do I seem to be running shit? Why does every single conversation on every podcast, radio show seem to be surrounding me? Right? Why is my music living on the charts? Why are my albums still being streamed and loved and embraced and being played at all possible functions within the core of hip hop and beyond? I seem to be like the real actual metrics of what we should be looking at. I'm the one that's dominating that. You know what I mean? So I think the Grammys and critics and these other outside dudes are co-signing your shit, but my shit is being played and embraced and loved. So that was a real slick. That was slick. Now, I will say this though. It's important to note, man, when we talk about classics, for me, who's saying something is a classic, first of all? Like who are we looking at? Who are we paying attention to? Drake, Kendrick, Cole, all these guys, Wale, everybody, man. You know what I mean? Everybody wants validation from the core of hip hop. And you know what that means. Drake would not have battled Kendrick. J. Cole wouldn't have jumped out and made 7 minutes, made the 7 minutes, 7-minute drill diss if they didn't want to participate in a core cultural thing, which is battle rap, right? That is something that Drake jumping out and doing these battles is a no-win situation. The reason why he does it is because him, Kendrick, and Cole all still to this day, and they always will, want that cultural validation. What does that mean? It means the core of hip hop, the people who live and breathe this shit that know it, the historians, right? The people that essentially are of it. You know what I'm saying? I got another video that I'm gonna put out that kind of talks about what of it means. But the people who have grown up in hip hop people, right? Hip hop is the culture. It's the way you walk, you talk, the way you look, the way you dress. When a bunch of people who don't know hip hop like that or don't care about it listen to your music, it doesn't really mean that's not what we've ever meant by classic. A classic has to be a classic to the people who love, live, and breathe hip hop. Typically, you know what I mean, the core of the core means in the United States, in the hoods. What are they saying about your music? There's plenty of records, man, that don't get any commercial love that are considered classics. And these records that are getting tons of sales and streams, no one gives a fuck about in that core. Outside of that core, casual fans, that's cool, but that doesn't really mean anything when it comes to the heart and soul of hip hop. So that's important for every fan to kind of get, because I'm seeing people looking at charts and all this other stuff now. I think Drake fulfills both. I think Drake has core hip hop classics, and I think he has, and some of those classics fulfill both. They are the core of hip hop think they're classics and beyond. But there are some records from all of these guys, Drake, Cole, Kendrick, or whatever, that their fans jump on Twitter and go crazy over that. No one really cares from that core. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to get that universal sort of cosign. Old heads from the 70s, 80s, 90s, no matter who you talk to, people who know, and new school people who care, who live hip hop, it's hard to get all of them on the same accord to say, that's a classic, right? It's very difficult to do. So, the boss of the business, it's cool. Drake is talking about the streams and all that he gets. And I do think that Drake has classics. But I do think that sometimes, we confuse what the sort of cosign of casual fans, because that's how you get outrageous streams, right? When you get billions and billions of streams, now you're appealing to people who don't even know, many of them don't know enough about hip hop to have an intelligent conversation about it. And I'm seeing the conversation switch to caring about what they think. It doesn't matter what they think. They follow what the tastemakers in the core of this do. We do, the core people create the swag, create everything, and then that swag gets copied and then embraced by the outside world and the people who are outside of the United States. But it's created here. The swag and everything, the beats, the production, the essence of it, how we walk, how we talk, gets created here. So what those people think takes priority over anybody else. So just because you got a lot of sales doesn't mean that you have a classic. But again, Drake fulfills both. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think Kendrick and Cole both fulfill both. But I think sometimes their fans are thinking classics are classics that aren't classics. There's, you know what I'm saying? There are albums that y'all swear by on hip hop Twitter that you think are classics, and I'm like, you just using the term too loosely, man. You know what I'm saying? A classic isn't polarizing. There can't be a shitload of people. Every other person you ask can say this album is trash, and then other people on Metacritic say it's genius. Classics aren't polarizing. They're pretty much just, it's a given, right? You know what I'm saying? So, in a lot of polarizing albums, man, y'all think of classics. But anyways, man, really dope. Getting back to it, I love this line, man, when he said 50 millimeter president, you know, for all the time shit got political, right? So he's talking about a presidential Rolex, I guess was what he's talking about, but he's talking about a watch for all the times that shit got political. So he's talking about the politics maybe in hip hop, right? The narratives that people spun and the politics with you know, radio personalities, DJs, podcasters, with the label, right? You know, I went through all that bullshit the last few years, man. Let me buy myself a nice watch, man, as a gift to me for overcoming all of the political bullshit, right? The sort of divisive, you know, backstabbing, betrayal, and all this by the industry, right? How it got political. But also, obviously, presidential. When you think of a president, a president is a political figure, right? So presidential. I thought that was a slick line. But I like the shot at the Grammys, though, man. This album, I'm never submitting it because I know, you know, they'll never consider it. But this might be the one year I won because I know how they like to position it, right? So him saying, I know how the Grammys, right? The 1 year he would win the Grammy would be this year is what he's saying. But I'm never submitting it, right? Drake has been against the Grammys, and I mean, he hasn't really taken that very seriously. He got a Grammy, and while he actually got the Grammy, he said in his speech he didn't give a fuck about the Grammys, and neither should any other artist, right? He said that when he got the Grammy. So, you know, he's been very vocal about not being with the Grammys. But this 1 year, considering the narrative of him being Iceman coming back and the, you know, obviously him still being successful even with the industry against him, there's sort of a narrative that's sort of developed as a result of that, right? So they're going to position themselves in a way to kind of get on that train. You know what I mean? And Drake is like, nah, I know this might be the 1 year you won, not because you like me, but because, you know, because it goes with the narrative, right? You're jumping on the bandwagon now. Now that I'm back up, of course you're going to try to give it to me now. He said his bros want to mob on the stage, man. You know, his bros, his guys, man, they just want to, you know, they want to see that, they want to get that look, right? His bros are like, you know, go ahead and submit the, you know, for the Grammy Award, man, so we can get that look. So we could be on stage. He said they want to mob with the syndicate. You know, we want to be on stage, man. We want to, you know, in front of the world. Maybe I get my followers up on Instagram, man. I just want to, you know, we look good as a unit in front of the world when you're accepting your award. And Drake is like, man, them shits don't even have no significance. And he's right. I'm like, I'm always happy when artists get Grammys, not because I give a fuck, because I know it's a good look sometimes for them. It's just promotion. That's what it is, man. Grammys is just promotion. So if there's an artist that's been working hard and they get acknowledged and they get exposed to a lot of people, I think that's a good thing. So I don't give a fuck about the validation of the Grammy Award. I care that it's good that artists can get some shine and get exposed to people and, you know, to help sort of further their career. So it's cool for that, but it ain't cool. Getting a Grammy doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that matters is what the people who give a fuck about this, who live and breathe this, think. That is the ultimate validation. But he ended it by saying, what happened to Drake from 2009 when all the moments was intimate? What happened to Drake with the Innocence? I don't think we'll be seeing him again. The album's called Iceman. You know what I mean? This is his get back, his revenge. You know, so it's like the guy that was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I always say, you know, Drake came in the game bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, man. He was a young, innocent dude from Canada. And then he saw the shady, backstabbing nature of the music industry, right? Especially the rap world. I mean, I forgot what song that he said this on, but he was like, yo, I think he said, I'm the big homie, but these dudes try to little bro me, right? Like, I don't know. He didn't say it exactly like that, but he basically said they're trying to little bro him. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what he accomplished, they would always look at him like the corny Degrassi kid. You know what I'm saying? They would always kind of like, you know, shit on him a little bit, right? So he's always been battling that, always dealing with people dissing him and this and that. And I'm not saying that he was completely innocent. There have been a few occasions where he may have initiated some things. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, Drake has dealt with a lot of hate. He came in, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, innocent kid, just wanted to be a great rapper, seemed to go out of his way to pay homage and show love. And then slowly but steadily, you know, he became more and more jaded, you know what I mean? With the disrespect, the constant dissing, someone constantly every other day coming at him. It just led to what we now see as ice. And then obviously the exclamation point of all of that was 2024. Now it's like that guy, that Degrassi kid, You know, that funny, you know, carefree guy, you know, all that, and just wanting to show love and put everybody on, put money in people's pockets and just pay homage. That dude is gone. You know what I'm saying? The innocence is gone. I don't think we'll be seeing him again. So, which is probably a good thing for him, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, hopefully, I mean, this Iceman thing, I think, is the extreme version of that. And I think moving forward, he's gonna have his head on a swivel. He's gonna be a little bit more, you know, a little bit more picky about who he lets in his circle. So I think this song was dope, man. I think the simplicity of the delivery mixed with a couple of cringy lines, like little corny lines, I think are really, really putting people in the mode of sleeping on this song. I think people are really overlooking what he was doing lyrically. There's a lot of subtext, you know, a lot of like, you know, slick shit, you know, that he was doing in here. Some metaphors, you know, some idioms in here, right? You know, just a lot of figurative, you know, bar work that I don't think people were really giving him credit for. So this is a dope song, man. You know, and that's going to conclude my covering of Iceman. I'm not saying that, well, the reactions at least. I'll still be talking about Iceman and referencing it and maybe using, you know, stuff for videos. But as far as doing actual reactions, that's pretty much it, man. You know what I mean? I think you guys get the idea. Love the album. Been loving the album since it dropped. I think it's one of Drake's best albums for sure. I don't know where I have it ranked yet. Maybe I'll do a video on where I'm ranking it. You know, we'll see, man. We'll see. But I'm going to take some time away from it because I've been listening to it nonstop, come back to it, see how I feel. You know how it is. You know, you live with it a little bit. But, yeah, man, that's it. Shout out to everybody that did request this one. That's the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And that's it. I'm George. This is Rhyme Rate. I'm out.